Well, could this be, something that drags the global economy down? I mean, if these guys get, I mean, they don't have aircraft carriers, and right at the moment they don't have an air force. But could this, spread globally? They say they have fighters around the world now.
Sure. There are two ways that this could impact the global economy in a significant way. One is what we call a spectacular terror attack. Now, all terror is bad, and the idea of terror is to terrorize people. In other words, there might be a particular beheading victim, but the purpose of beheading somebody on a city street in London or New York is to scare everybody else. That's what terror is. So it wouldn't take much. We've already had an Islamic beheading in the United States. That's the other thing. Our government seems to be in denial about what these things are. It was revealed the other night that the Fort Hood shooter sent a letter to actually address to Pope Francis. It was released by his lawyer, basically declaring that he was part of the jihad. So why the Pentagon calls that workplace violence is a bit of a surprise. And then this other guy who beheaded the poor woman in Oklahoma, I believe, that's classified as workplace violence. But he's clearly a radical Muslim. So the terrorists here, the beheadings are taking place. So if there were more of them, or certainly anything like, but that's sort of street violence. That by itself will terrorize people, but it won't take down the markets. What would take down the markets is some kind of large device, a bomb, radiological device, other kinds of asymmetric warfare on a large scale. But that's probably coming because we know they're trying. So that's one thing. The other thing, of course, is any disruption to the flow of oil. Now, the United States does not get much oil from the Middle East. We get our oil from Venezuela and Nigeria. In domestic production, the U.S. is very close to being a net exporter of energy, so we're not dependent on that. But it's a world market and a world price. And China is dependent on Middle Eastern oil, and Europe, to some extent, is dependent on Middle Eastern oil. So if the Islamic State spreads and begins to disrupt the flow of oil, either in Kurdistan, northern Iraq, or southern Iraq, or elsewhere, invades Saudi Arabia, that would have an enormous impact on markets. We've seen the price of oil drop like a stone lately because the world's in depression and there are deflationary fears, but that could turn around on the geopolitical vector. There are three things that affect oil prices. One is normal supply and demand, one is geopolitical, and the third is inflation and deflation, sort of monetary policy independent of fundamental supply and demand. Right now, the supply-demand equation is slowing down because the world's in a depression. Likewise, monetary policy has given us not inflation but deflation. But the geopolitical vector is a wild card, and that could go up. So yeah, this could definitely impact global markets either through a spectacular act of terror or disruption in oil supplies.